ease up when that need is highlighted, and our ability to bounce back from adversity. We live in a wonderful part of the world, beautiful, wild, rich in so many ways. I feel privileged that I've been able to serve the community in the role as councillor over the last 4 years, a time which has presented us all with quite a few challenges. I have given proper, open-minded consideration to all proposals, whilst also considering what is the best result for the whole of the community. I commit to continuing this process. I've involved myself in this community from quite a young age. Initially, this was heavily focused in the sporting area, playing, coaching and administrating in a number of different sports. Over the past 20 plus years, I've been an active member of the local Rotary Club. I served 3 terms as president, been secretary and a board member for a number of years, as well as being active in a number of statewide positions, including being district governor in 2016-17. I participated in a number of committees over the years, as well as some mentoring programs. I do not stand on any platform or have any lines, but stand to contribute to our community in a meaningful and positive manner. I will provide a balanced and honest opinion on whatever goes or whatever issue is on the table. I believe the council and councillors need to show genuine leadership within our community, encouraging, supporting and driving the many and varied opportunities in an ethical and unbiased manner. I respectfully ask for your number 1 vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you everybody who's turned up tonight. For those who don't know me, my name is Sally Collins. I've lived in Circular Head area for 30 years. I've worked many different jobs when I first came here, but have been self-employed as a massage therapist for the last 25 years. And I think that gives me a very good understanding of small business and the way that the self-employed people in this area operate. The reason I would like to be a candidate, or am a candidate for council to try and get on the team is I think I've got a broad knowledge of the area through the sport that I've played, through my job, being able to meet all the different people from such a wide variety of backgrounds from in the area, and I think I've got a fairly good opinion of what goes on here, and I like the area. It's an amazing area. I've been to a lot of different places on the mainland and overseas, and always look forward to coming home to this area. I think everybody needs to realise how much of a gem the place is and how much it's got to offer, and I'd really like to see it grow in a positive way and be part of that decision making so that we can all benefit from it. I'd like the community to be involved with those decisions as well and have their say. So it's we can't please everybody all the time, but we can please as many people as we can by offering them to put in their opinion, and then as a team, if elected, be able to work it out in the best manner so that it makes the area move forward in a sustainable way, and then we can provide employment and the schools will grow, the shops will stay open, and we have more opportunities for the young people that are growing up. I've got 3 teenage children and they'd really love to be able to stay in this area once they've finished their schooling and be able to work here. Thank you very much.
Mark is next.
Got to set my own timer because I do like words. All right, I'm Mark Davner. I grew up here. I moved away when I was about 20, went away for a long time. And look, I'm not here to talk about all that because there is something else that I would like to talk about, and that is something I've been thinking a lot about the last couple of days. And it's in 2006 I lost a son, and I'm not telling you that for sympathy. I'm telling you that because it's dawned on me in the last few days for the number of conversations I've had with people that we don't talk about hard things in this community at all. And we've got some hard stuff to talk about. I know about a third of the people in this room have had a related experience just like mine. And I bet you don't talk about it either. It's something you think about every single day probably, but it just doesn't come up. It's hard. And there are things going on in this community, probably some of the lack of respect, the community division that has gone on. All these fine folk have put their hands up knowing that we're in a different time now. Social media is targeting us. They want to tear us down for their own petty reasons. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. And we need to have a long think and talk about who it is we want to be and where we want to be in 20 years' time, the community that we are now, but who we want to get to. We need to talk about our youth, why they don't stay. I've got plenty of ideas around that. We've got 2 minutes, we can't do it now, but we need to talk about mental health and the impact it's having in the community. Suicide, it's a big deal, not just for our youth, but for our middle-aged folk who are 2 to 3 times the rate of our younger people. Housing, health, how we're supporting our own industries here. And there's a lot of other hard things that we need to talk about because we're at a bit of a crossroads in this community. And if we don't fix some things, talk about some things, get the ideas from the community, all the answers lie in there. They don't lie with us. We're just 9 people in the end of the day, whoever gets elected. So I'd like the council, if I'm elected, to engage with the community again. Thanks very much.
Hello, and thank you for being here to meet the candidates for the 2022 council elections. For those who don't know me, my name is Annette Dawes. I live in Irishtown and I've lived in the Circular Head community for 47 years. For those who do know me, then you know that I love a good chat. 2 minutes is all I have, so here goes. I'm standing for the roles of councillor and deputy mayor and feel it's time to serve the community that I'm so passionate about in a new and exciting way. I've been educated here, married and raised a family here, and I'm extremely proud of our unique and wonderful community. I've spent my adult life working with and teaching the youth of Circular Head in local schools and privately, sharing my passion for music and the arts, and I'm ready for a new challenge, which I promise to give my undivided attention to. I consider myself motivated, caring, and most importantly, approachable, and I'm willing to listen and use my voice on your behalf should I be successful. I look forward to a new era of council with some new faces and a bright future for Circular Head moving forward. My husband Brett and myself have 3 married children and 11 grandchildren who all live in Circular Head. We raised our family on our dairy farm in Irishtown and also owned a retail business in Smithton for 13 years. I was awarded Citizen of the Year on Australia Day in 2012, an award I was both humbled by and very proud to accept. And I'm also a proud Paul Harris Fellow, an award presented to me by the Rotary Club of Smithton for services to my community. If I'm successful with my campaign, I assure you that I will use my voice and my time productively to bring a fresh approach to the council table. I may be new to the world of local government, but I firmly believe that our community has the potential to grow and prosper into the future with a council of strong and passionate leaders working collaboratively with a vision to strategically plan for sustainable population and economic growth, housing shortage being a priority. I would like to make mention of our Mayor, Darryl Quillam, and wish him and Bev all the best in their next chapter of life, and also to the councillors that are stepping down that have served our council. Lastly, if elected, I will remain as I've always been, my authentic self, committed to my role and willing to work with integrity and understanding. Thank you.
Then you go to rent himself on a bit of noise. Rod.
For those who don't know me, I'm Rodney Flowers, a farmer at Forest. I've run for council before, or I've been on council before, some 10, 12 years ago. I'm running again because I'm sort of sick of what's been going on in the last 4 or 5 years. my rates as a farmer went up 22%. My services in the last 4 years, I'd say, has went down 95%. So things are not good there. The amount of money that's been wasted and the rubbish that they've brought over the years, it's cost us thousands of dollars for no real reason. So if I'm elected, I want to stop all that sort of garbage. My hobbies and that are, I like my fishing, I like the West Coast. I still reckon we should be fighting to keep our tracks open. The Liberal government promised us that they was going to open them, and that was just another lie. But we haven't given up yet, and I think council should be fighting harder for that sort of stuff. We've got to have something for our kids to do. We don't want them walking up and down the street and doing drugs and that sort of rubbish. We've got to get them away from that. There's no future in that for us. Other than that, I just want your number one vote if possible, and I'll see how I go this time around. Thank you.
Ian Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you also for your attendance this evening or this afternoon to provide an opportunity for all of the candidates here to talk about the issues that concern Circular Head. As a community, we're stakeholders, and this is our once in a 4-year opportunity that we have to input into the local government in Circular Head as far as the council. And therefore we have a right, as ratepayers, I believe, that when we cast our vote for that person, that person will perform their duties with a high level of priority, probity and integrity and care on our behalf as ratepayers, including the responsibility of ensuring that the council's financial well-being during that time in office. The Chronicle recently published a bit of an overview of my past community activities, and since my wife Gina and I arrived in Circular Head some 16 years ago. And as well as that, my senior management involvement in companies within Australia and overseas. In recent times, we've all seen changes in our population, our makeup and the business environment in which we live, the lifestyle, and of course, housing shortages, as well as workplace shortages and skills deficiencies across many of our industries that require urgent attention. Council has identified in its strategy plans many issues that impact those particular areas as decided. I have a strong sense of purpose and community involvement and see my role, if elected, as working with other councillors and the community stakeholders in assessing, evaluating and prioritising community needs and applying good judgment and financial decision making to utilise industry sources within Circular Head. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome everyone. My name is Tony Collin. I'm a newbie councillor. I'm going into my 11th month as a councillor. I took the successful in replacing Betty Kay, the former councillor, and I've enjoyed my short time at the council, and I think that I can contribute more, and that's why I'm standing again. And with my past involvement with the community, as a member of the Lions Club, current chair of the Circular Head Agriculture Show Society, going in my 7th year of that, I think that my record sort of stands as being a committed community member. Myself, I'm a former dairy farmer, lived in Circular Head all my life. the progeny of pioneers that helped build this community, and I'd like to sort of continue to keep going the train that they set all those years ago. I'm, as I said, had a lot of involvement with the Lions Club, and I'm still continuing to do that. I've been awarded a life member of that club. I've been presented with a Melbourne Jones medallion, which is the service for the club, for the district, and for the international. I'm a past winner of the, or awardee, a joint winner of the Circular Head Citizens of the Year, likewise a Citizen of the Year with the Lions Club. Where I'd like to see this...
Time.
Thank you. I would appreciate your number one vote for both as a councillor and deputy mayor. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Isaac Long, and I'm probably the youngest candidate going for the council this year. Now, as a youth growing up in Circular Head, I learned very quickly that I would have to create my own opportunities in order to fulfill some of the dreams and ambitions I had, which in turn gave me the ability to create opportunities where before there was none. Ever since then, I've been advocating these ideas to the youth, and in similar situations through decades of workshops and mentoring roles that I've been hired in through councils and education department. I believe that if you give the youth value through their ideas, dreams and opinions, you can give them the self-worth that is important to all humans in order to feel a part of the whole. We all know the old saying, give a man a fish and he eats for a day, teach a man to fish and he eats for life. Supporting people to create their own opportunities not only gives them the value, but can be a prevention from going down the wrong path, which may in turn lead them to mental health issues further down the road. Living costs and available rental housing is becoming a very big issue for a lot of locals and is adding pressure to an uncertain future, not only for those individuals and families, but also for local businesses as well. As a Stanley local, I witness a lot of these local businesses struggling under the strain of the influx of tourists we have coming to our beautiful corner of the state, and wish to find a way to capitalise on the missed opportunities this influx of visitors can bring to the state. I would want to make it easier for locals to create more business experiences for the tourists, to create a lasting memory of our area. For example, the old Stanley Arts Festival we used to hold. These are just some of the main issues I would be looking to address as a representative of the community, and even then I cannot offer you straight up solutions, but I will be working hard to find avenues to lessen the burden of these important aspects as my time as a transparent and approachable councillor.
Time.
John.
Thank you, Darryl, and thanks everyone for coming out this evening. With no population growth over the last 20 years and few new dwellings being built over the same period, it's no wonder we have a housing crisis. We need to not only retain our present population, but attract new families to our region. The only way to fill empty shops and fill up footy teams is by growing our population. We have the jobs, but not the people. We are the envy of many municipalities with the industry that is located here and the wealth that we generate, but all these businesses are struggling to fill workplace vacancies because there is nowhere for these workers to live. As a retired dairy farm owner, to stay profitable, I had to keep growing my business each year. Council is a business, and to keep up with rising costs and depreciation demands, council needs to increase its revenue. This can be by increasing the rates on existing property owners, not a very popular choice, or by increasing its rate base by encouraging development of more residential land, but in areas where people want to live. I've been president of the Tarkine Coast Progress Group for nearly 10 years and am an active member of the Rocky Cape Lions Club. I'm passionate about our region, and if you want someone with a plan for now and a vision for the future, then vote for John McNabb. Thank you.
John Ollie.
Good evening, everybody. Can I recognise my council colleagues, the General Manager and the council candidates that are seeking to be elected. First of all, I would like to I'm asking the community to consider me as your number one vote for councillor and mayor. I provide strong leadership and actively promote sustainable growth and development for our community in the Circular Head's best interest. Being a councillor is what you can do for the community, not what the community can do for you. I hold high integrity and empathy. I'm not judgmental when listening to Circular Head community members, young and experienced, with their views or points that they would like to discuss with me about our community. I have an understanding and the needs of the community in Circular Head through my experience as being a councillor, bringing up a family of 5 children, and from having run my own business with my wife Beth at the Gary. And I thought about a comment that my daughter once made. She put a message on our answering service and she said, "Mum's in the cow shed, Dad's out trying to run the country." I will always put the community first and will never waver from this. My vision for Circular Head is to care for the people in the community that we have and develop a sustainable population growth in cooperation with our natural resources and assets of water, timber, land and tourism.
Time.
Thank you very much.
I regard Circular Head as a great place to live. However, I don't think we've been making the most of our opportunities. I'm a great believer in long-term strategic planning. To me, this means looking at what is good about the past and present. You then look at the needs and opportunities of the future. From there, you develop a broad-based plan that encourages economic growth while protecting community wellbeing and the environment. I'm standing for council and as mayor to influence the development of such a plan and put bones on it. It would be a plan that builds our population, makes our towns and villages more attractive places to live, develops industry large and small. For many years now, our population has been stagnant and our demographic getting older. We need to reverse this and make Circular Head a destination municipality. Circular Head is seen by many outsiders as the end of the road. Many people that do come want to go to Stanley and turn around. The sealing of the Western Explorer Road would change this, but the state government say they can't justify the cost. We should be considering how to change this situation. Properly planned wind farm zones selected in areas of low environmental impact and closer to the Reese Dam and Whaleback Ridge wind farm would be a big driver. A proposal for a fast freight passenger ferry service between Stanley, King Island and Victoria. This would make Stanley an entry point to Tasmania for tourists, secure Stanley as the major freight port for King Island. If both these ideas came to fruition, it would provide justification for the sealing of the Western Explorer to highway standard. Progress has been made in town improvement, but there's a long way to go. The development of the council wasteland between Woolworths and IGA into an attractive park would lift the image of our town. Both my daughter-in-laws have stressed to me the need for a playground suitable for young children.
Time.
This, together with a pathway connecting the two commercial areas would lift the image of our town. Thank you for attending tonight, and I will outline my confidence in our future. Firstly, I'd like to thank the present councillors for their commitment and community contributions, and also to the Mayor and Deputy Mayor for their leadership. I believe that was shown through the COVID period. I'm very optimistic in our future and believe we are on the crest of an economic renaissance, driven by resilience, hard work, passion and innovation for our community, of our people, plus over our natural attributes of location, clean air, plentiful rainfall, rich soils and produce of food and renewable energy. I will encourage the new council to need for a development plan to manage our opportunities, to review our rural living zones, to support housing and growing our villages so they remain strong and viable. Partnerships with corporate industry and businesses to meet their employee needs. Our food products from the land and seed need to be value added locally. Renewable energy generation is an opportunity, has a requirements for clean energy and power for the nation, and we are located perfectly to take advantage. Our locality is ideal for wind, solar, wave, tidal generation, and that will bring construction, maintenance and research requirements to our housing, education and job creation. Council's priority will be to attract working families to live locally and reduce the need for drive-in, drive-out workforce. Council's obligation will be strong advocacy to promote the partnership with other levels of government to meet these challenges. I, along with Council, support the lifelong learning and through CHEDIC, we have a strong alliance between public, private training, trade training and tertiary institutions who likely provide pathways for all. Education opportunities and sport will encourage our youth to be innovative and tech savvy. Tomorrow's regional education. It goes on, but I've got more to say. Thank you.
Well, that's the councillors now. Is any deputy mayors? Oh, sorry. You want to read? Yeah, read Melissa's out there. Sorry about that.
So Melissa Wells is unable to be with us tonight, and to give her the opportunity to speak to you nonetheless, I offered her the opportunity to send in a written statement which I'll now read out. So unfortunately I'm not able to attend tonight and apologise for that. I will work for you, the community and all members of Circular Head. I have proven my dedication and drive to improve the community by standing up in regards to the sale of the Grant Street block without public advertising. I have a good understanding as to the Local Government Act and council policy and procedures, which I am passionate about. I love this place and want to be a voice for the people who live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, are there any deputy mayors? I know Ashley, you want to say something. Any others want to say anything other than Ashley? Ashley comes through.
You always cut me short, Mr. Mayor, so I've got a little bit to say.
I'll only give you another 2 minutes.
Just to summarise the finish before, one of the important things as Deputy Mayor will be to work diligently through the local government review to obtain the best outcomes from Circular Head in the future. Very important that we are on board with that, have the experience to negotiate. If elected as your Deputy Mayor, I will lead a strong advocate and strongly advocate for with passion and energy, as I believe this is our future. I'm confident we can achieve what we can achieve and have. I will support a team of councillors by encouraging participation in debate and decision making from data and community consultations. Councillors will be encouraged to take active part within our community
exploring opportunities, presenting community views. In closing, I wish all candidates the best, and candidates the best, and I can't wait to be part of the great future. Thank you.
You want to say anything else, Tony?
No, I think
You're all right?
thank
You're
you.
all right?
I'd prefer questions from the
Yeah,
floor.
no, that's fine. Any other mayor candidates want to say anything else?
I probably have a quick, I didn't quite finish mine.
Okay, now will you come up, and we'll do it the opposite way around this time. So you, John, and then Jerry.
Probably people don't know me very well, but I have served the community. Before I came to Victoria from in 1985. Prior to that, I held positions in the Waratah Beach Surf Life Saving Club for 18 years and was boat captain of that organisation. I was captain of the Sandy Point Fire Brigade and secretary of the Sandy Point Foreshore Committee. I was 3 years Tasmania representative of Cattle Council and served several terms on the TFTA and was also chairman of the Red Park Primary School, which I'm very proud about. I've always been a team player, and in most teams I've been in, I've risen to the leadership position. I'm not experienced in local government, but I've always tackled a task and been able to achieve it pretty well. So I hope you'll consider me as your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm standing for the position of Mayor as I have a thorough understanding of the Circular Head community. The knowledge to address issues as they arise, and I consider myself to be politically wise. The position of Mayor must be willing to work alongside a team of councillors and staff. It is my personal opinion that I have the necessary qualities and attributes I hold high moral values, empathy, integrity, respect, a good listener, family. It means a lot to me, and you can't do things without the support of your family. A businessman, a community volunteer, and experience on the council. In all those qualities are required and are expected by the community members, which I have been a long-term resident of for almost 40 years. I'm asking the community as a whole to support me becoming the Circular Head Mayor. I have great respect for the community and you, the people. I will always be available as a community member. I will not let you down.
I guess this is the bookends, isn't it? Having served the community in the role of councillor over the last 4 years, I'm ready, willing and able to step up to the role of mayor. I still have plenty to offer, have the commitment, energy to fulfil the role and intend to give it my full focus. In the many leadership positions I have held over the years, be they work, sporting or Rotary, I've developed the necessary skills to lead our council. The training offered in particularly and participated in the 2 years leading into the role of Rotary District Governor of Tasmania in 2016-17 was intensive and varied, with many of these skills very relevant to the Mayor's role. There are many formal roles that the Mayor must fulfil, including being Chairperson of the Council and spokesperson, and in liaison with the General Manager ensure proper governance across all function activities the Council and the councillors perform. But just as important, if not more so, is to encourage and support the many community groups and organisations which give great service to our municipality. To represent and place our community positions in front of all levels of government, and to foster and encourage a positive working relationship between all elected members. We live in a wonderful part of the world, in a caring and supportive community, of which I am very proud. I've been an active and vocal advocate for Circular Head throughout the state, especially in my Rotary role, and will continue to be so. I give you my commitment to be available and open to everyone. I respectfully request your number one vote for Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all candidates. I know I've been there a few times. It's not an easy job, and so you've all done very well, and thank you very much for coming and giving of your time and your effort to speak to us all tonight. We're now going to have around 40 minutes or so, 30 minutes or thereabouts, or whatever it takes, but I will cut it off if it goes too long, because the candidates will still be here to be able to answer questions later on a one-to-one basis. But we have got a roving mic because we're online, and so we need to have that, so people online as well as ourselves hear your question. So who's got the first question? Lynn Ravage. Oh, you had your hand up. One gentleman over here.
I've got a question for Mr. Papowski. One of the areas that Circular Head must address, if it's going to keep its youth, is to do everything it can to foster tourism. I believe that Circular Head has failed miserably in many aspects of this. My question is to Mr. Papowski. I understand, I think I'm correct, he was one of the two councillors that voted against putting an electric charging station for EV vehicles in Smithton. Can you please explain why?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I did vote against the EV charging station in Smithton. Position. I wanted to position it at the new Heritage Centre, the tourist centre. Not against EV charging, I know it's the future and more will come. So that was the reason, it was to say that it was in the wrong location, not against the EV charging. And as far as tourism, a strong supporter for the whole of Circular Head tourism, and encouraged by the amount of visitors and the local population who visit the information centre and the Heritage Centre just recently opened. Thank you.
Jones.
Thank you. My question is to Mr. Matt. You said very well that Smithton needs to grow. The population has been stagnant. One of the reasons I've been told there are many blocks of land that want to be developed by developers and are being blocked by higher authorities in Hobart. Is that not correct? And I'll continue after that.
You are right in some ways. What the problem is that we've sort of come across is there's about 70 hectares of land already zoned residential in Smithton and about 30 in Stanley. Unfortunately, they haven't been developed, probably for different reasons, whether the owner has no intention of developing them or it's uneconomic to develop. Because it costs, say, about $60,000 to develop a land with your underground water, the sewage, power and everything like that. But if until recently they'd only been selling for 40 or 50,000, who in the right mind would sort of bother? So a developer comes along and looks at an area that needs rezoning, Planning Commission and Hobart will basically knock them back because we've already got this, we've probably got 50 years, in their minds, 50 years land already zoned.
Yep, and that's correct. Now, from what I've been told by one of our former council members, Betty Kay, that in Scotchtown alone, there is rural land which is willing to be developed. But why it's not being developed is because the powers that be at the State Planning Authority level are telling us that before that rural land can be developed and a house put on it, that either 2.5 acres or 5 acres, I'm not exactly sure, have got to be included in that development. Now, people that are coming here to retire or wanting to build new buildings, that would be rather extensive. And the other thing that concerns me, and I address this to all the candidates, is no matter what development application comes before you, the State Planning Authority can abolish it. Is that not true?
That's true.
Now, we've got some very important development applications coming through. One of them is Robbins Island. Now, I've only just read today that the EPA has been granted an extension on this. Now, once this development application comes through, and if you guys knock it back, the State Planning Authority can override you. This is not right. This is our community. Our councillors should decide what is right for our community, not some bureaucrat.
It's a question. What's your question?
The question being, what can we do to be able to grant development applications without being overridden by the State Planning Authority? Thank you.
That needs to be addressed by the state government because they're the ones that do all the planning and tell us what we can do and what we can't. Yeah. And then after, if we reject something, they can then overthrow it anyhow. But that's a state government matter. Councillors don't have any say in that at all. Heather, thanks.
I recently spoke with mothers of young families who are lobbying for a contract. At present, they are travelling up the coast most weekends, taking their young families, and as they said, we shop, buy coffee, lunch, but would prefer to have a contract here. These families are our future. Our population has been stagnant for years. Developers are plentiful, however not welcomed, applauded and encouraged as they should be. So they just take their dollars elsewhere. We reside in the richest region with enormous potential, diversity of industry, business, tourism and much more. Other communities are experiencing up to 25% growth. This means more homes. Subdivisions have been rapidly approved in areas where there are less industry. This results in a bigger rate base, hence more money for ratepayers, wish lists and real needs. I understand depreciation is an expense. Developments will be a solution to the above. As council candidates, how passionate are you about these issues and what would you work to change this can't do too hard attitude currently frustrating developers?
Who would like to have a go at this? Thanks, John.
Thanks, Heather, for your question. The subdivisions, there's one been approved, the work will commence in John Street. That work will commence in December or early January. There's a hold up with one down at Kantara Road, sorry for that, and that's been held up by Parks, not by Council.
The question though was about the pump tracks.
No, I just wanted to address the issue of the housing, but the pump tracks, there's two groups, one here at Smithton and one at Stanley. There's been some discussions to try and get them to come together. That hasn't worked at this point in time, and we've only had one one discussion at this point in time. We're going to have to go further down the track before, because they want council land to put it on. And that's the issue. Is it the right place over there, West Estimate? Is there room for it? All that sort of thing have got to come to council. We've only had one workshop on it.
I agree, what John says is true. What I'd like to see, and I've mentioned, is an overarching discussion on all our playgrounds and play areas within Circular Head, and make a long-term strategic plan about how we go about all that, rather than have little bits and pieces here, there and everywhere, which financially makes sense and long-term usage makes sense. So I'd like to see us move into that area to have that discussion.
Anybody else want to say anything?
I'd certainly be encouraging subdivisions around our towns and villages. I think there is a planning scheme in place, but we need to use our best abilities to make that planning scheme work in our favour. I think often developers come with ideas that aren't going to fit the planning scheme, but we can make Smithton a more attractive place, subdivide attractive areas. Marrowa and Arthur River offer terrific potential for subdivision within the town boundaries. Stanley has a subdivision which I understand is being held up for some reason because of a park issue, which I can't understand. A park in a subdivision is an asset, not a liability, as seems to be mooted by the current council. But I am passionate about population growth and community growth, and making Smithton a more attractive place, or Circular Head a more attractive place to come and live.
Thank you. Another question up here? Yes.
Can I answer that one as well?
Yep, you can quickly go.
And probably touch on the previous one as well.
Yeah. Yep. Give the others a bit of time as well.
Thank you. Look, the subdivision aspect is certainly something that concerns me, and prior to becoming a councillor. I've got here three applications from one particular investor that centred around the Anthony Beach one, and two at Scottsdown Road. And I don't think any of those three actually got to the council table because of the red tape and et cetera that they've had to go through. It's not only the town planner, as I see it, it's conditions put in by Cradle Coast and coastal strips and things there that have got to be sort of sorted through. And Mr. Mayor, you might like to, or General Manager, currently the Cradle Coast, we've got someone within the Cradle Coast sort of looking at some of those aspects, and that might, whatever comes out of that might well be a positive way forward. So you might like to comment on that.
Not tonight.
No, right. So there is work being done within the council to try and address some of those things and look at where to from here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Jennifer Hunt is my name. I'm a very much a newbie compared to everybody else, I believe, to Circular Head. I arrived here about 3 years ago, and I chose to come here. I agree with what has been said by many of the councillors. It is a lovely, lovely area, a beautiful place to live, and there's lots of potential. And I think the key word there is potential. I hear a lot of questions from the audience asking councillors and would-be councillors about economic development and community development questions. I just wonder, and there has been a lot of talk from the council, prospective councillors during your session here to say that you're looking at sustainable growth and housing and economic development and community development. I'm just wondering, and also that you want to engage with the community. I'm just wondering how all of you propose to engage with the community, how you're doing that now, strategically, what processes are in place to do that now, and how you propose to expand and continue to do that in the future, or perhaps come up with some other ideas. That's question one. Question two is there currently a community development / economic development officer who works within council, who has expertise in all of those areas that have been discussed tonight? And if so, they don't seem to be promoted, and if not, why not? And would you put one in?
Sorry, that was too long. I apologise.
Who'd like to have a go at that?
I'm Mark, just to remind everybody, I'm one of the admins on Circular Head News and Watch the News. So Cheryl and I run that, and we engage with the community pretty much every day of the week, probably around 23 hours of the day, it seems at times. And so the entire time we've been running that, we have encountered an incredibly large number of issues, and the things that people want to talk about, the things that are suitable to talk about on Facebook, the things that aren't, and we carry the legal responsibility for that every single day. So one of the things that's certainly come up, and I mentioned it there before, is that I would love to see us return to the days where we're actually engaging with the community in a public forum setting. Now, I was concerned, significantly concerned, and I worked in local government for a long time and had a lot of work with state governments and things as well. So one of the things that needs to happen is engagement. It needs to happen all the time. It's not good enough to have one chat, make a plan and get on with it. We need to have a rolling system of being able to engage with the community. Now, I went to the council about a year ago. I was concerned about where things were going in this town. As someone had been away and come back, I've been back about 6 years, I was concerned about the division in particular, the aggro, the disrespect, the other things that were going on around the place that people were too afraid to talk about even, and certainly in the last couple of years, too afraid to stand for council over. And that was just insane in my view. I'm a big boy, I can cope with those things. We do it every day on the Facebook page. But I spoke to the council and said, look, we need to have these again. And the concern was around security, and there was a few other excuses for it. And Scott resigned a week later. I don't know if it had anything to do with that, but nothing happened, and nothing's happened since. And if I'm elected, I'd certainly love the council, and with the support of the ones that do get elected, to go along to these things, but take on respectful conversation with the community and have the community know that there's an expectation of that as well. Don't just turn up. It's not going to be a whinge fest. If you come to whinge, you can bugger off. If you've got something to complain about, you've probably got an idea about how we can fix it. So come armed. If you've got a problem, come with an idea as well, because we've got amazing people in this community. They're armed with ideas to the teeth, but I don't know that we actually actively go out and find them. And I think it's an important thing that we get on and do.
Mark just took the words out of my mouth, but I'd like to add something more to that too. Not just do council have an obligation to communicate with the average person on the street, and perhaps hold forums so that that communication is a two-way street, but I also think that there are people in the community that they might be whinging, or they might just be passionate about something that they feel strongly about. They don't necessarily understand the process that has to go through council. They don't understand that hands are tied at times by planning authorities. They don't understand why somebody said no to that particular project. And so if we as a council are more open and transparent to our community and hold a forum where we can actually show the public just what goes on in council and what we can and can't do, then perhaps that helps for those people that are jumping up and down, complaining on social media, the keyboard warriors that attack the council and attack individuals on the council. If we gave them the knowledge, maybe they could see that there's a better way to approach council and have that two-way conversation. So I totally agree with Mark, but I think it goes further than that, that we have to educate the community, especially probably the younger people that don't know how council operates, and especially now that it's a compulsory vote. Thank you.
Just to add my little bit with that as well, I think a lot of the new candidates that come up here tonight felt an obligation after seeing, leaving Circular Head and going away and then coming back. I myself left and went to Melbourne, saw massive amounts of development going there on nearly every day. And I think a lot of the candidates here are stepping up now because we feel that obligation in regards to our beautiful local area that we want to treasure and bring some of those things back to what we used to have. Like I mentioned this down the Arts Festival. I know we had a beautiful Arts Festival recently, which was lovely for the community and just a wonderful looking thing. But we also need something that's attractive to the tourists as well, and to give them a memory they can actually hold and take home and start promoting where they are as well. Now I can't comment so much on the housing as you contended, and I'll start finding more information about those sort of things as well. But I'm probably the only one candidate that's actually a renter. I still rent a housing. My lease ends in January, and I'll be suffering. We'll try to find a different house as we try to stay in the community for one in Stanley. And I really don't want to move away from out of Circular Head, and I'll be trying my hardest to do that, to stay in Circular Head. So I could even probably say that I was one of those whingers about 2 years ago where I used to get on social media and oh, bloody council, what are they doing again, sort of thing. But I took a new lease, a new perspective of how I could add my positive input to the community. Instead of complaining about it, I wanted to find more solutions. So a lot of the candidates, I believe the new candidates that come through, because I can only speak for them that I know, we're already active members in the community. We're already doing things in the community we believe are positive things to move forward. And I think it's going to be a great new change for when the new elections come through.
Thank you. One thing that I'll add to that is that council did state about 2 years ago, we put a motion through council that we wanted to lift the population to around 10,000 from 8 to 10. Some people felt that was too high. We don't want too many people here because our beaches will be packed and whatever else. I think it's going to take a fair few more than 10,000 to do that. But, so whatever number you put on it, some people are not going to be always happy. But we did talk to the community pretty extensively at that stage, and the majority of people certainly wanted that because we need more people for our schools, our hospital, health, whatever we have, to make it sustainable in the future. So we have done some of that, but we do need to do more. Steve, you want to say something?
Yes, please. The Circular Progress, or the Tarkine Progress Group, have been advocating a business development officer for some time, and I think it'd be a great idea. We need someone to lead that division. The other thing about consulting the community, when I set up as great on strategic planning, and one of the things I think we should have is an annual forum that invites people to come and give their ideas. And probably the Tarkine Coast Progress Group will be a good one to run that with a facilitator, get the ideas of where the community wants to go, and then it goes back to council to put into their strategic plan. I read the strategic plan of the council just the other day, and it's all there, but there's nothing in it. It's a whole lot of motherhood statements, really. We need to put bones in that, put issues that we need to pursue to make that plan work.
Questions? Rebecca?
Yep, I just have a question regarding the economics of renewables in this area. So I guess I might direct it to Ashley because you spoke a bit about renewables. My understanding is that in principle, most people support renewables, but just with regards to economics, presently in Tasmania, 90% of the employees for the Granville wind farm and the Cattle Hill wind farm were fly-in, fly-out workers, and pretty much all of the wind farms in Tasmania, except for some partial ownership, are owned by offshore companies, meaning that their profits go offshore. So if that trend in employment were to continue here, and likewise their profits go offshore, what do you perceive are the economic benefits for this region?
We get the hard roads, don't we? I see a lot of positive gain, Rebecca, from your question. My understanding on renewables is, yes, we get a construction workforce of about 400, and we get an ongoing maintenance crew of about 65. That's locally on the northwest coast. The wind farm currently at Woodmore spent about $4 million a year on $4 million a year on maintenance and wages on the northwest coast. $2.5 million for Smithton, $1.5 million along the coast. So that's an economic value. My understanding also is that on the Robbins Island wind farm, there's something like $35 million a year goes to the state government to pay for social services that they provide. $35 million a year is the figure I've heard. The other thing with the initiative, one of the first in Australia, the council are thinking about a community fund. A community fund. What's that going to do? Well, a community fund's going to be probably set up by a board, independent to council, to enable what I call secondary industries to become established, to maintain the workflow after the construction period. So that's an ongoing benefit for the circular community because we're well aware that we'll peak in the trough. What we want to do is flatten that trough out so that the community fund will fund secondary industries that enable us to maintain the population that we want to provide the services. And at this stage, without further notification, I think the council are hoping to get about $1,500 a megawatt, which is around about $1.5 million a year to go into this community fund. They've guaranteed around about $750, which is $750 a megawatt, which equivalent to $750,000 every year while the operation of the wind farm. Those are the figures that are going around. I can see a real advantage. There's also another advantage, Rebecca, that's been spoke about by the North East and the West Coast councils of rating the chattels of the wind farm. So if we can rate the value added of that will go direct to council to be able to keep rates down. So there's a few options there that the council are trying to negotiate to be an advantage for Circular as a whole. But just be aware, even a small wind farm like Woolnorth bring 4 million into the coast. So there's the economic values.
Any further questions?
I've got a few.
Just wait for the people.
I've got a few questions generally about tourism in this area. As all of the councillors and prospective councillors have said, that it's got tremendous potential here. But there are some things that need fixing that the council could do, in my opinion, quite easily. First of all is the carnage on the Stanley Road. I mean, if you're coming as a tourist to Stanley, every few hundred metres there's a carcass of a poor dead animal. A property sold down on that road for over $1 million just recently. They weren't asked or made to put up an animal-proof fence. I don't understand the logic. And sometimes we're our own worst enemy here. A small but vital example is in Stanley. There were two places to have breakfast. They both decided to close on a Tuesday. I mean, again, you've got to wonder. The third thing, we live out near forest. All the roads there are being sprayed on the sides with defoliant. And to make matters even crazier, just recently, council decided to put an excavator to clean the roadsides up. So it's been sprayed and then the sprayer's then taken off. What a waste of money. Does council really need to defoliate the sides of roads? There's been lawsuits in America over these chemicals, and council may in the future hold themselves up to legal liability. Do we really need to be spraying chemicals all through circular head roads? And the final one is, where I live, we've been run off the road twice by trucks. We're lucky we didn't get injured, and I know other members of the community have appealed to the council. It took council 6 weeks to answer my email, and basically I was told nothing could be done about it. So there is another thing that really needs to be addressed to make our roads safe for tourists here. These are all within the very means that the council could use to fix these things.
The first question you had was the roadkill on the Stanley Road. That is a state government road, it's not a council road. And we've talked to, council has spoken to the state government many times to work on getting those animals off the road early in the morning because they get killed in the night, obviously, but to no avail at this stage.
But what about the fencing situation?
Fencing is something that we have talked about down on the Woolnorth Road. The NRM have suggested that that's probably not the best way of doing it because you can't fence every metre, and so they'll soon find out where they can get out, and so unless every landholder actually fences right along that road, they're going to get on that road anyhow. So, and in fact, the people that do put it on there, they probably can't get off the road until they go a fair way to get off it, so it could be worse. But it could be looked at further, right, because it isn't a good site. I agree with that. Does any people want to talk? I thought you might talk, Rodney. Please did let me down.
The weed spraying on the road, or well, they spray it for their shouldering, supposed to, but they don't shoulder. All it does is it kills all the grasses, then we get weeds. So I call it the weed breeding program of Secret Council. It's an absolute disgrace and it's an absolute waste of money. Because like I said, they spray it to shoulder, they don't shoulder. They haven't shouldered for 4 years. That's why people are breaking their rims and tyres. Yeah, but if I'm elected, I'll definitely try to change that. And there's no need to spray, on Jocks Road on my property, they even spray them in paddock. That's how wide they're spraying. I'm pretty sure they're not going to shoulder on the inside of my paddock.
You hope not.
Any?
Just in regards to the Sandy one, a question about the breakfast. As a local of Stanley, I sort of know, and I see the pressures of some of the local businesses there as well. One of the local ones recently retired, and the building I think is going to be up for sale soon as well. Marley's, which is another one of the businesses there, which is taking up some of the strain of the morning breakfasts. They're under a great deal of strain as I think a 4 or 5 man team business trying to keep up with all the tourists that come through. And that's one thing I wanted to address in the 2 minutes that I was bringing up, that there is so much potential in Stanley for businesses to crop up and take these spaces, but because of the employees or the casual employees or the part-time ones, which are usually the renters, are struggling to find housing in order to maintain the jobs that are available there. Nearly every business at the moment, because of the tourist season, are all currently looking for people to fill up these gaps. Even myself, I've taken a part-time job at the Stanley Mini Mart to help them as well. And my partner as well has 3 different jobs where she works at the Golf Club in a few different places as well. So the locals are trying to fill those gaps as much as possible, and there is so much potential for businesses to arise. We recently had a business in Smithton that we closed the shop front of, and we're even thinking about moving to Stanley to open a business of some variety like that as well. They're either up for sale or the rent is phenomenal for us, or too big for us to be able to take on. So there are potential for people to move in and take along those businesses, and we're even getting to the point where we're knocking on doors, trying to find who the landlords are of these empty places, so we can find out the potential of what the possibility could be done. But the potential there for new business growth is amazing, but it does depend, I believe, on some of the rentals as well that are available, because as we all know, the rentals in Stanley are getting very, very small. So we were offered one the other day that because our lease doesn't end until January, we can't take it. So even the person that got to us 2 or 3 days before the rental went available, we had to decline it. And now I'm trying to share it on Facebook to get people to come to the area, if you know what I mean. And yeah, there's a lot of, nearly every business in Stanley at the moment is currently looking for some kind of employee.
Okay, time for one more question if anybody's got one. I saw yours hand and somebody else's, so we'll do those two. Then we'll close.
Hello, I'm Patricia Reid and I own Pocket Oil 24 in Stanley. I've been there for 18 years. Recently we lost our visitors centre, and every day we, in my shop, because I'm open 7 days a week, we are having so many visitors, the huge visitor numbers in Stanley, are all wondering, where our visitor centre is, if we're going to get a visitor centre back, something that people can access rather than travelling 20 minutes to Smithton and then 20 minutes back again. Yeah, people are expressing that they would like or should have a really interesting and innovative visitor centre in Stanley.
I think Vanessa can answer that for us.
Candidates can answer that?
Yeah. You can answer.
That's probably better. I don't want to take all the credit. Patricia, thanks for the question. The visitor centre, the good news is it's coming back. There's a period of time in the transition to the new visitor centre. May I also refer you to the past history? 17% of visitors to Stanley, 17% visited the visitor centre. Already there's been an increase in the new visitor centre of greater than 17%. So there is positives there. But I take your point that there will be a visitor centre back there, and it will serve the people. And I believe the foot traffic within the Stanley streets will visit that more often and become more popular. So it's going to be a win-win, both for the visitors and the information we need to give out to the tourists.
There's one other question over. You want to have a go at it as well?
Yeah. When you get about the state, which I do, I work away at times, you ask or talk to a lot of different tourists and they say, where are you from? And I always say, Smithton. They sort of look at you dumbfounded. And then I say, in behind Stanley Forest. And as soon as I say Stanley, they know where it is. By 2/3 of the tourists go straight to Stanley. The information centre shouldn't have ever been changed from Stanley. It was owned by, well, the council bought it 10, 15 years ago when I was on council. Now, it's sitting over there and we're paying rent for another one here. and all the tourists go to Stanley. I can't see the logic in it. Yeah, I think it should just go back to Stanley.
Not to start arguing with one of our councillor-elects. Look, all through this process of negotiation of the new visitor centre and what was going to happen, there was always going to be a case of there's going to be a presence in Stanley. As Ashley said, that's coming back, it's been organised. What we want to do as a council is look at the whole of community, not just Stanley versus Smithton. We've got to get away from it, we're whole of community, and if it's a presence in Stanley and a visitor centre in Smithton, we are well on the way to doing that.
I thought there was a question there. Oh, a question there, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, my name is I run a small retreat at Forest there, this retreat, and we told here about 3 years ago, and basically I've come a fair bit. I used to work as a project manager in Australia, New Zealand and that, and a lot of projects and things. And the question I've asked here is that basically, as far as the council goes, the biggest thing I find here is the lack of resources or the lack of things like the medical centres and things like that here to actually fulfil the needs of the general populace here now. For instance, you want to go and see a doctor. It's quicker for me to get on my phone to the hot doc. I can go and see a doctor tomorrow morning. I try and see a doctor here, it takes up to 5 weeks. I ran out 2 hours ago to get my 4th booster shot. They don't do it here anymore. I've got to go to Burnie to get a booster shot. Young ladies that want to have a baby. I used to work with the following doctors in Central Australia. You could basically get someone within 2 hours with basically 800 k's to the closest hospital. Here, ladies want to, go deliver a baby, they've got to go away to Burnie. What can we do to actually facilitate or improve the services here to actually cater for the general populace that we've got here now? Because we're also an aging population. I know we're trying to get more people and things like that, but we can't facilitate what we've got here now. So basically, as a council, what can we actually do to help facilitate that? And also even some of the tourist side of things, because I get, you guys come in and take your family, your kids down to the new heritage centre. If you want to take them to the museum to teach them about it, the heritage, the history of this place. Because it's closed on Saturday and Sunday. That just doesn't make sense to me, I'm sorry. So, as a council, what can we actually see and what you guys actually do about that?
I'm sorry to disagree with you about the medical facilities. In the last 1 to 2 years, OCA have taken over the Smithton Medical Centre. You've got 24/7 access to the doctors. You can walk into the Smithton Hospital any time and the doctor will come and see you. And the service... Sorry? I'll follow it up because it's been my understanding. Unfortunately, I've had to go to the doctor in the last 6 months for a broken leg, and it's been nothing but great service, and the staff and everything have made it a lot better. And OCA are giving great service, hot doc. I don't think one can expect to have maternity facilities in every town. I understand what you're saying, and I probably won't use the services in my life in the future. But there's always opportunity, Mr. Mayor. So I know Devonport people have got the same issue, but they've got to travel to Burnie. If we want specialists and a good medical, I don't think it's unreasonable to have Burnie as our chief our main medical facility, because geographically it's serving the West Coast, King Island, Circular, Devonport, Latrobe. So we've got to understand we live in a beautiful place, but we do have to pay for some services. But I beg to differ about the medical services because I've never known it to be any better than we've got now with some great doctors.
Well, have Steve, this will be it. I'll close it down.
I've got to disagree with Ashley. I think our medical system now is far worse than I first came to Circular Head. We do need to have delivery services in the Smithton Hospital. For one thing, young doctors like to deliver babies, so we're missing out. When we need doctors, we're missing out on those doctors that really want to deliver. I know Vern Powell went to Burt because he thought that he could have develop a delivery service there, and when it turned out he couldn't, he left again. The best, I'm not criticising the doctors we have, but we need to aim for a better medical service. And if we don't aim for something better, we're never going to get it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming tonight, and thank you very much for the candidates for all coming and talking to us as well. And they are going to be still about, so please come and ask an individual question to an individual councillor if you wish.